There's a ton of noise out there. So, how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to B2B Growth. I am your host for today's episode, Nikki Ivy with Sweetfish Media. Guys, I've got with me today Dorothea Sieber, who is head of content strategy for Marketo. Dorothea, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
You know what? Thanks for coming on the show. I'm super excited to talk about the topic that we have outlined today, which is creating an epic experience for your customers, whether that's B2C or B2B. We're going to talk about 5 key values that Marketo is using to see some success there. But before we get into all that, I would love it if you would just give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the folks at Marketo have been up to these days.
Absolutely. I would love to. So Marketo was acquired by Adobe a couple of months ago. And so it's been a really exciting journey for us to really drive a lot of impact for the B2B marketers. And, you know, with B2B and B2C converging more and more, we've really been focused to drive that seamless end-to-end experience for our customers and also empowering marketers to do so for their customers, because it's just so much more important in an engagement-driven economy that we're in.
I agree. It's something that, on this show, I talk to marketers every day, and the ones doing it right are the ones singing that same tune. But what I love is the little nuances that each of the big players in the space are putting on it to sort of set themselves apart. And you guys are doing that with your 5 values of an epic experience. And I'm so excited to dig into the first one of that, which you just kind of touched on, which is being absolutely obsessed with your customers. Talk about that a little bit for us.
Yes, I would love to. And it's actually really exciting that Marketo even had one of the core values as a company is customer obsession. And it's something, that goes beyond customer focus. We're really obsessed with making every customer experience amazing. And one of the things that we've noticed that's really important is to really put your customer front and center of your strategy. So it cannot be an afterthought, like your whole organizational structure, your strategy, your go-to-market, everything needs to be laid out so that you can provide a really great experience for your customers at every single touch point. And one thing that's really important as well is to really drive cross-functional alignment. And so we've seen a lot of success to really bring together customer-facing, data-driven functions bi-weekly to talk about what's top of mind for our customers, what data points do we have to really drive that experience. And just as an example, I work very closely every day with our head of creative and digital to really drive those experiences from like everything, the content journey to on-site events to the digital experience to really provide that seamless experience independent of where the customer is in their buyer journey.
I love it. I love that collaborative approach that you guys are taking, because otherwise, right, things get siloed and really important bits of data get lost. So that's
exactly
a really good approach. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things, like if you're not aligned internally and to really drive that, and if you don't have clear KPIs for your employees to, that tie it back to the customer, the journey that they're going through is fragmented and it won't be personalized, it won't be seamless. And there's a lot of data nowadays where customers actually, they leave after one bad experience, like 17% of your customers will walk away. And alone, like 17%, like over 50 walk away after several bad experiences. Like, you can lose more than half of your customer base if you're not aligned internally and to really drive that cohesively.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, I come from, we didn't get to talk about it offline, but my background in the B2B and the SaaS space is on the sales side of things. And a lot of what you're talking about just doesn't exist, right? And part of that is because it's just not necessarily the function of those roles. But I think the more that sales folks start to think about, that alignment and think about the customer journey overall in the way that you're talking, the less likely we are to lose that 17% or that 50% when it comes to that experience that you talk about. And one of those things, again, that can start with the sales side, and I say side, I hate these silos, but that can start with the sales team, and that continues certainly with the marketing team and with your customer success teams, is that emotional connection element. Talk a little bit about how that fits in with what you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, whether it's at events or even the language we use on our website or really in our nurture campaigns, we focus on really looking at what matters to the customer and what are their needs. And so every conversation we have with them starts based on a topic that is interesting to them, that matters to them, a pain point they need to solve. And often when you work with companies, especially in the B2B world, the messaging focuses so much on feature driven, versus outcome driven, like why our product is great. The customer doesn't care why our product is great. They want to hear how it solves their need. And so we've really had a lot of success to really focus, even by choosing words like customer obsessed, to really show the commitment to the customer, and to do the same for events. We have like Fearless Marketer event, to go beyond people feeling empowered, but it's really for them to be fearless. And so a lot of that starts at the beginning of your journey, and you really need to kind of carry that through the entire journey that you have with them.
For today's growth story, we'll be talking about Clear Company, a fast-growing talent management platform. Clear Company was acquiring a decent number of users, but they weren't happy with their organic traffic or conversions. Clear Company turned to Directive, the B2B search marketing agency, to help increase their overall search visibility for core keywords in order to drive more organic traffic and bottom-of-the-funnel leads. After identifying the core target keyword and analyzing the first page of Google results, Directive executed a content and digital PR strategy to rank Clear Company number 1 on the first page of Google for the high intent keyword. In just 5 months, that one piece of content generated 27 demo requests and 1,902 referring domains, an all-time high for Clear Company. If you're looking for results like this with your search engine marketing, there's a good chance Directive can help. Visit directiveconsulting.com and get a free customized proposal. All right, let's get back to the show.
What's interesting though, when we talk about emotional connection and the next value that I'm interested in is that establishing shared values, is those, especially emotional connection, those can be tough things to measure, right? I mean, it can be tough to know, like at what point do you know that you've established that emotional connection with a customer, and is that something that can be, measured for or, made into a system to be repeatable over time? How does what you guys do approach that idea?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question and really good point of view. One of the things for us, like, we're incredibly lucky because we have really passionate customers. They live and breathe Marketo every day. So one of the things that has really worked for us is really show the shared values that we have with our customers. In our case, because the company was built by marketers for marketers, like, we understand what our customers are going through, and we can really connect with them on that level. And one of the things that worked really well for us, and again, it's potentially a little bit more intangible, but there are definitely ways to measure, is we build an amazing community called Marketing Nation that includes marketers all over the world. It's not even necessarily only Marketo customers, but the reason why that, movement and that community became so powerful is because it's marketers all over the world. They have the same shared values. the same passions, the same pain points. They talk on forums every day. They meet like in specific regions every quarter, and have ongoing conversations. And that really shows us exactly kind of what they need. We love to highlight them on stage. Like we want them to share their stories. And we're really built that community with them and that trust that is so important as you build those shared values and the emotional connection, because at the end, it comes all down to them, like trusting you, trusting your brand. They want to engage with you. They feel like you're providing a value to them. And that's then what kind of brings on and really leads to that long lasting loyalty and them being amazing at like the best advocates we could ever ask for.
Right. And I'd imagine that internally, once you've got your teams, and I do mean teams plural, sales, marketing, all of revenue ops, once you've got your teams bought in on that, that's the way that we get to this next value, which is providing that consistent customer journey, right? So
that's right.
The customer is then encouraged to or allowed to count on, this same level of epicness from the beginning of their journey through the end, an end-to-end experience, as you mentioned. Talk a little bit about that for us.
Yeah. And so it all comes down, and we all have had, many experience, right, throughout our life. And usually it's not like one touch point. It's many touch points that we have, whether it's life experiences or engagements with a brand. And it all comes down that whoever the company is, that they really deliver you value, on a consistent level over time that builds the trust with you. And so one of the things that we noticed at Marketo, actually, when it came to our content journey, was that our content journey for our customers was fragmented across different touch points and was siloed, from the website to events to other touch points that we had with them.
Sure.
And we were really focusing on driving a consistent content journey for from content production through experience and distribution, and brought together kind of what you were mentioning earlier, all these different teams. So now we talk to sales enablement, sales, support, services, different parts of marketing, customer success, and we bring all those people in the same room, and we actually talk about, what is needed, what are pain points of our customers, specific themes we should focus on when we create new content and when we map out our content strategy. And then how do we get that from the first touch with our customer to all the way enabling our field, so they're equipped to talk to the customer and provide them with the same value and have an aligned message. And then it goes far beyond the actual selling point, because then you want to really bring in customers, after the acquisition, and kind of really give them relevant material for adoption. So we have a team that focuses on that in marketing with in-product adoption features, and then all the way obviously to hopefully retention. So it's that full journey where we have a lot more of a cohesive team now, even though it's cross-functional, it's a virtual team, as you would say. And we've seen so much success even just within a year of executing on that, just because people are talking to each other, which, you would think is natural, but
right.
It's sometimes more challenging than you would think.
Right. And it sounds like you guys, if we get this right, if folks get this right, I know there are people out there, Marketo has been doing great things in this space. So I know our listeners are have got their ears open. Right. And so folks who are wanting to follow these values, get this right, then that's how you get to this fifth value, which is epic results, proving impact. Right? Talk a little bit about how that looks for you guys.
Yeah, I would love to. And that is something that's so important, because every marketing function, and even beyond marketing, we all have our different KPIs that we need to hit. And metrics, whether it's revenue attribution, pipeline attribution, share of voice, SEO optimization, click-through rates, and so on. And so it's really important to understand, one, the KPIs and the results that you can measure as an individual team. So let's just say for me, it would be from a content, production and execution point of view. For the digital experience team or web team, a lot of those would be web metrics, including conversions. And so the thing that's really important is every team will have their own KPIs, is you need to bring it together. So for us, when it comes to content, we really drive the performance at a content theme level and have metrics that kind of go beyond like one group, but really have them tie into many different teams so that everyone understands how they bring value to that one purpose to really measure their impact. And then even one level above, how does that then, help overall marketing metrics? So how does it help prove marketing, their impact on revenue, their impact to the business? And that is something that's definitely, we're laser focused on that to really drive that consistent value, both on the customer side, but also to the business.
Right. So it goes hand in hand with this sort of revenue operations team model that most folks are trying to do, right, in terms of breaking down those silos to get to the types of results that, I've been talking about. I love the way that you guys lay this out. Once again, guys, those 5 values for an epic experience: customer obsession, making emotional connections, shared values, providing a consistent journey, and finally being able to get those proven impact points for that epic results and epic experience. So now, Dorothea, now that I've gotten to successfully pick your brain and see what I could get out of it, it is time for me to ask you what you are putting in it. So talk to us about what learning resource you've been engaging with these days that's either, informing your approach or that's just got you excited.
Yes. So a couple of things. I've been super into listening to podcasts lately. And, like many people, but I love, usually I really like podcasts. Some of them are marketing focused, but some of them have nothing to do with marketing. And a lot of them are actually around culture, leadership, how you help your teams lead through change. Because so much of what we do, it all goes back to people, and people need to be motivated to drive those amazing experiences for customers. So a lot of it starts actually within your company and with the culture. Mm-hmm. And so I've been listening to, anything from how I built this, the NPR podcast, because I love how entrepreneurs are just kind of building their own companies from ideas they had, but also how they kind of built those cultures. And then another one that I love is A Call to Lead. It's actually an SAP podcast that one of their lead executives, Jen Morgan, is doing. And she talks to people from all different industries. And what I love about that podcast, it's so inspirational on so many different topics, from leadership to things that might be related to business and not, but it's a really good, time well spent listening to that.
Yeah, I love it. I had a guy contact me on LinkedIn the other day, and he was like, "What kind of podcasting do you do? I'm an addict." So I talk to people every day who are always looking for more shows to podcasts to binge on. So thanks for putting that out there for the folks that listen. One more thing, like I said, you guys are doing so many things right, and you've laid out such helpful, valuable little tidbits. I know that there are folks listening who are going to want to connect with you. Dorothea, how can folks keep up with you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can either follow me on Twitter at D_Sieber, or just connect with me on LinkedIn, Dorothea Sieber. I would love to connect and hear their stories as well on how they're trying to tackle that, because it's such an important problem we all need to solve together.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have to have you again sometime in the future to talk about some more ways that you've applied these values. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about that overlap between B2C and B2B that we talked a little bit about offline. But for now, you've given us so much. Thanks, Dorothea. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, if you've been listening to B2B Growth for a while, you know we're good friends with Sangram over at Terminus. So we wanted to let you know something really cool he's up to lately. This week, and this week only, Sangram's newest book, ABM is B2B, is available for just $1.99. That's right, $1.99, a steal from the regular $14.95 price. And here are a few reasons why you want to check out this book. One, you'll learn stories from 6 companies and the specific steps they took to take their ABM program from good to great. You'll also learn the team framework that Sangram talks about and is time-tested in over 100 companies. If that's not enough, they're giving away 100% of the profits and $10 per review of the book to the New Story charity. So check out the link in the show notes to take advantage of this screaming deal and get your copy of ABM is B2B by Sangram Vajre and Eric Spett on Amazon for just $1.99 this week.